Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're having a lovely Monday. If you're new here, I make these episodes every Monday when I can, and I introduce a poet that I've been recently reading that I love, or that I've repeatedly come back to, and that I keep reading because poetry is meant to be reread and lived with and enjoyed for life. if you're if you've been watching this series before, I'm sorry I missed last Monday because I was not well and there have been medical problems in my family. So I have been very busy and distracted, and I want to come to these episodes enthusiastic and really inspired to be reading these poems, not in a kind of like stressed out state, and pass it on to you. So, in this episode, I will be talking about a contemporary poet who's very young. She's like 24, I think. I think I did the math correctly. I don't know. And she's from Pakistan. Her name is Noor Unnahar. She does these short haiku-like poems which use words very sparsely or selectively, and they're very short, but the last couple lines or even line is sometimes so deep and to the point and kind of just like turns the whole poem into a beautiful, coherent whole that I really enjoy when somebody does it that way. I also really enjoy haiku. I don't read it as much, but these poems are meant to be read in English. They're not translated, and even though she's so young, I really enjoyed the wisdom in many of these. And I think I really want to keep track of her as she grows up and matures into a more developed author, more developed person. So I'll be reading quite a few short ones and commenting on them. And if you like them, check out this book. And she also has an Instagram, I think, and a YouTube, but I'm not as much of a digital person as I am an analog person, so I have only read this book so far. I actually got it quite accidentally in a random book lot on eBay, so nice coincidence. The first poem I will read is untitled. A lot of her poems are untitled, or they're kind of titled in these italics at the bottom, which I find interesting. And I also find titles are not really useful for poetry. Like Emily Dickinson didn't title most of her poems, she just wrote them. It's already so brief, you might as well just read the whole thing. She's an immigrant, and she had, from what I understand, she had a family situation that was somewhat tough. And she talks about identity, art, and her immigrant experience a lot in this book, and also broken families. I am the rage left unspoken, unheard, unfortunately, by the woman before me. So I write a lot and speak a little firmly, giving life to the words that never made it out of their mouths. It was just such a sweet and like profound reflection on how we can embody the hopes and dreams of our ancestors. So the next poem. People leave because, unlike matter that has firm, solid, strong molecules, people are made up of air, fire, earth, and water that change shapes, that keep moving, that cannot stop. So let them go and let them be the things they want, the shapes they like, because in the end, you too will grow into something entirely new. So let them go. I thought that was such a wise kind of observation. I also like the idea of the elements being who we are, because I think it kind of personifies the human experience and the way of thinking about ourselves so much more than thinking that we're like meatballs, like we're taught in biology class. Meatballs with nerve impulses going through us. That's not, I don't feel like that's an effective way of communicating the human experience and how we think about it. Even like we think about fluidity, going with the flow. We think about fire as that like passionate drive encouraging us on, and kind of even destructive in a way, because if you're really passionate about like art, it kind of eats away large chunks of your life and other things. So it's kind of destructive, but at the same time, it's like this beautiful, strong force. So I do like that idea of the elements being who we are and not trying to control them, not trying to control other people, because we don't want someone else to say that you should stick to this strong, solid form and not become who you want to be, even if that's where you're flowing, if that's where your soul is tugging you towards. So yeah, that was a wise poem. So the next one. When you fall, do it gloriously. Collapse like a glass building, sink like a gigantic ship, and when you're done sinking and collapsing, build yourself with your wreckage. I thought that was such a beautiful image of artistically building ourselves up from any negative experience that came before, any negative experience that tried to break us down and destroy us, to just artistically incorporate it back into our lives, into who we are, and make it something beautiful, make it something strong, make it something lasting, like a building. And that image, it just really stayed with me. And it's so simple, but so profound. Like the anger of fire shapes metal, like the sorrow of a writer creates poetry. Everything that is beautiful doesn't always start beautifully. And that's something that I feel like every creative really, and every person who wants to live their life creatively, you don't have to be an artist or a writer to do that. I think that's something that we really have to acknowledge, that some of the best art, some of the best music, some of the best writing comes out of living deeply with your pain and with your joy and with your silence and with the creative slumps, and it all kind of melds together with time and creates art. No part is really dispensable, even if we don't want to feel that pain, even if we don't want to feel that sense of unfulfilled yearning or lostness. It all just combines into art with time. The next one is also on art. Art doesn't ask to be perfect, poetic, precise. It asks to exist, to breathe, to be. This is what it has always been about. And I always think about that word, creativity and art. So many people place limitations on it, and they're like, you're not a true creative if you don't make money off of your art. How much did you sell? How much did you make out of it? And art isn't about that. It's about the process, and when the need arises, sharing it with others. And it can just be a couple friends, but it's that living of a creative life, an internally creative life, that I think is the most fulfilling aspect, and the aspect that really stays with you, that really shapes and beautifies your life day to day. So the last poem. Broken homes produce walking, talking wars. Their residents either become their own cities or their own ruins. And this poem obviously talks about trauma and growing up in broken homes, and how we always have the choice to either let it break us down and make us small and shattered, or rebuild ourselves with the wreckage, or rebuild ourselves stronger. It's like a plant that broke in a certain place. It can regrow and have that really strong callus that is actually so much stronger than any other part of the plant. And keep growing. Keep bending with the times, bending with the strong winds that we actually have now. Sorry if it's making too much noise. I have a little art setup when it's not burning hot. I paint in there. But yeah, I thought it was just, her poems are beautiful, and they're very, very wise for a 20-something-year-old who wrote them. She wrote this a couple years ago, I think. So yeah, give her a follow, check her out on Instagram, and first get this book, honestly. If you're an analog person like me, I feel like seeing a person on digital format through video and everything might not necessarily contribute to the experience of reading the book. So she also has these sweet little illustrations throughout. It's a very light read, and I wrote down some of these poems in my journal, so I really, really like them. Very simple, very beautiful and deep at the same time. Sometimes we don't need all that many words to express ourselves, to reflect on a truth, and keep reminding ourselves of the meaning of art, the meaning of identity that is rebuilt from all the experiences that we've had, and how to make it into art. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you next Monday with another episode by a different poet that I love. Have a lovely day, lovely week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.